So here we are in the pit of the winner of the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500, Alex Palou, a new champion for the race, a driver who has won 5 out of the 6 races this season. And this is our Monday Yap video after the Indianapolis 500. Kyle has been silently behind the camera all month long, making a lot of observations and actually really contributing a lot, to be honest with you, Kyle. There's a couple of moments where you pointed things out to me that were huge storylines.
I needed David to validate me.
And I tried to validate him as much as I could. And now this video, very much validation, because Kyle, I guess I'll kind of let you lead the discussion, because what did you see yesterday for the Indianapolis 500? I know we're going to have to get into the discussion about the racing quality itself, but just in general, what was this Indy 500 to you?
I mean, I got a lot of positives, and then there's a lot of negatives. So let's start with positives in this video.
We got to be positive. Negativity out.
Let's start positive, because I don't want to lead the conception that we're just angry and hate this race or something, because we love this race. This is the day we count down to every year.
Well, yesterday was.
Yeah, yesterday. This one felt weird, I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of people have the same description. I think the word of this year on race day was weird. And especially like for me, because you mentioned this, you've gone to the 500 probably. You have 10 years on me or something like that.
I started going in 2002.
Yeah.
So you were 1 year old, I believe.
Every year since 2014, like yesterday was the first time I ever experienced an overcast, cold Indy 500. You know, I feel like everyone, 2013 was probably the last one. So the whole day felt weird. And then to add on top of the weird, the sprinkles, right?
Yep.
I don't think that's ever happened. But then the race itself, we expected this crazy, insane race, and I don't know if we got that. Like we didn't get that.
Well,
either.
no, we did get a crazy, insane race, but not in the way I think we thought it was going to be.
We thought it was going to be but to the other point, we didn't get a crazy race. But I remember at 50 to go, I looked at my girlfriend, the people I was sitting with, and I was like, I have no idea who's going to win this race. Like it was still that type of race.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. There's a couple points I think to get into on how to make it better. But overall, like there was a lot that happened yesterday. I think the theme as well was broken hearts.
Yeah.
Scott McLaughlin, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alexander Rossi, the list goes on.
Well, I suppose we could start with some of those guys. I mean, you started with Scott McLaughlin. I mean, his race ended probably right in front of us, where we're sitting right now. And then I made the comparison in the video last night. Many of us, none of us were born, none of us on our crew. I think maybe Luke was born before 92, but like out of 5 guys that are working on this channel, none of us were born when the 1992 Indy 500 happened, but we all feel it in our souls as this race, this Christmas movie that we always watch.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew that race was a possibility when we heard cool conditions. We didn't kind of realize that it was literally going to be 92, at least for the first kind of beginning of the race, where we literally had a car crash on the pace lap, which I can't remember. I think Guerrero's literally the last time that has happened.
I think so too.
Oh no, that's not true. That 97 there was a crash before the start, but like that was another cool odd day with lots of rain. So the fact that Scott, and I feel so bad, like I don't know if I said this strongly enough in the video last night, but Scott McLaughlin is a driver. There's a reason that I was picking him essentially since last year. He's a driver who will, I believe, someday win this race. And what happened yesterday is no reflection on Scott McLaughlin as a human being or even as a race car driver. It's circumstance. Sometimes, Scott Dixon did that in 2003. He wanted to talk about cool Indy 500s. My second Indy 500, 2003, was a very cool, blustery, not very fun to be in the grandstands day. And Scott Dixon, granted, he did it towards the end of the race, but did virtually the exact same thing that Scott McLaughlin did. So if you want a reflection of that's not a career-defining thing for Scott McLaughlin. That wasn't, but it's certainly a moment that my heart broke for that guy.
Me too. I think everyone in the stands, their hearts broke. And a neat tweet that you should put on the screen now of NASCAR man asking 4 years ago who was going to win the Indy 500 in 2025.
I'm sorry.
And you picked Scott. I mean, I think you jinxed him. Like you had a couple jinxes this
night.
But
jinxed a lot of things.
I think you were completely right, and I completely agree with your point that he's a guy that, it's not if, it's when. The progression that you always see from Scott McLaughlin year to year, I mean, you saw it in his first IndyCar season in 21, not that good. 22, fires right off the gate, starts winning races, and he's the Scott McLaughlin we know. And it's been the same thing at the 500. was kind of off the first year or two, and then last year was the first year when he won the pole, and it was like, oh, that guy has a year of being up at the front, and probably had a shot to win the race last year if he had that experience before. And so, yeah, getting a year where he doesn't even get to try to compete is very sad, and I think that's just going to fire him up even more, and I think next year will be an on year for McLaughlin as well to look forward to.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him win Detroit.
No.
I think that's exactly the type of race that Scott McLaughlin would win. Scott will be all right. The good news is, I guess, that there are a lot worse things that happened to Team Penske this month. I think that particular, yes, that's going to be a big part of it. And, you know, I wasn't sure how I felt about the 1995 comparisons with Team Penske, because, like, missing the show with two, granted, there's a lot more at stake now versus then, but I would say the second worst year for Team Penske at the Indy 500. I mean, is that fair to say?
That's probably fair, yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely didn't help, but it wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't the worst moment of the month for Team Penske. We talked about some of these other drivers that kind of, I mean, this was a race. This is kind of, I think, I'll put it this way. I think this is an amalgamation. This year was an amalgamation of 92 and 95. Because 92 was a race where we had all the chaos and crashes. But I would also describe this race similar to 95 as a race that no one seemed to want to win. Ryan Hunter-Reay, I think we've got to talk about him, because that's something that even the race highlights I watched on YouTube this morning, I don't think put a big enough emphasis on, that Ryan Hunter-Reay was one pit stop away from winning this race. And he confirmed on Twitter that the team actually ran him out of fuel, and there wasn't enough fuel to pick up.
Even more heartbreaking.
It's a heartbreaking loss for the Dreyer and Reinbold team, which literally does this once a year, has hired an Indy 500 winning driver, was in a backup car that I understand is the same car Graham Rahal drove a couple of years ago here, which is a 2012 car that Oriol Servia finished fourth in the first DW12 race here at the 500. And Ryan Hunter-Reay was going to win this race.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Which, by the way, they should bring that chassis back every year, because that thing was fast when Graham drove it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, well, heartbreaking. I don't think anyone everyone I was with didn't understand that Hunter-Reay was going to win that race. But I mean, this is just speculating, but I think what they had to have done, because I was confused how he got there, I think they had to have short-filled him to get him up front.
So they made an extra pit stop.
Yeah.
On one of the yellows. I remember this specifically because he was leading. He and Jack Harvey were on the same strategy, and they split it. Jack Harvey stayed out front, and Hunter-Reay went in the pits. And he was I think he might have been the only guy, or one of like two guys that topped off, went to the back. And so that's how they got that fuel advantage, as far as I know.
Well, because Rasmussen, there was like two other cars on the same strategy, but they were not leading. They were like fifth on back.
They weren't that fast.
And they were going to be able to go full rich and be up there, but Hunter-Reay, towards the end of that stint, before he made his stop, was actually gapping below in the rest of the field. Like, it just, one pit stop, lead the last 30 laps, and he wins the race. It was that easy.
Yes.
And honestly, it's so heartbreaking for Reinbold, because they didn't have to do that. They already pit 2 or 3 laps after the first guy stopped. They already had an advantage. They didn't have to stretch it another lap to get more of that. They could have pit a lap earlier and won the Indy 500. It's just so heartbreaking.
That's why we don't see Indy-only teams win this very often. And another Indy-only team, Takuma Sato. Same thing. I mean, he ran through it. Dominant. I mean, he was dominant. He was Pagano 2019 levels of dominant. This is what I think a lot of people don't realize, is that Takuma, if he literally just stayed up front, would have probably just walked everybody.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And I don't know. I guess if we're talking about heartbreak, we should probably talk about the finish, because we've talked about like 3 guys who finished in 30th. Yeah. The battle between Alex Palou and Marcus Ericsson. And before we kind of get into the controversy of that, I guess we'll talk about what happened coming down here into one, and really the whole last stint setup, because Palou was in the hunt most of the race. He wasn't a front runner, but I hate to say this, you don't need to be a front runner anymore to have a shot of winning the Indianapolis 500. He just kind of hung on to the back of like the top 5, top 6, top 7 through the entire race. And Marcus Ericsson moved, on the start, moved really quickly to the front. I think he was 4th by lap 2.
He was cooking at the very start.
So Marcus had a good car, but they were playing the fuel game, which worked out for them. He got out ahead of Alex Palou. What in the hell happened down here at turn 1?
Yeah, it looked I mean, it's one of those situations, and I'm sure Marcus would want to take it back.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's going to end up being a lot of sleepless nights for Marcus, because I mean, he let him by too easily.
Yeah.
Like I think he expected to have another shot. Maybe he didn't know what was going on with the two cars leading the pack with Foster and DeFrancesco, and thought maybe that they would go away or they'd be able to pass him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gave it away too easily, I think.
Well, and to your point, I mean, I think back to 2020, the Indy 500, and that was something that Scott Dixon, I think, threw away in Indy 500 because he let Takuma Sato around. Now, I'll say this about Marcus, and I'll say this about Palou too, is that I think Palou surprised him a little bit. I don't know if Marcus is willing to admit that yet, but the more I see the footage, is that was such a late move by Alex. I just, with 15, because he made the move with 15 laps to go. Alex Palou led the last 15 laps of the race. I just don't think Marcus thought the move was going to come that early. And it did. And then, to your point, to kind of go back to 2020, Dixon let Sato go by, expecting that he would get another shot at him, and that shot never came. But by the same token, I think Marcus, you and I both saw it, sitting in our section, Marcus was trying to get around the back markers. He was trying to get around them because I think everybody knew that was going to be crucial, because if Marcus had gotten in kind of that drafting leapfrog with one of those lap cars, Palou wasn't going to get him. And I think Palou knew that too, but Palou also knew that he had a stronger car than Ericsson. If he could get around him, there was no going back. There was no going back, because Marcus just didn't have. I mean, he about stuck it in the wall coming through three, trying to get Palou. He just didn't have the car to overcome that fourth place disadvantage. And so that was the thing about Alex Palou, which I thought was so spectacular. And I think he said it to Tony Donahue. Maybe it said it to us. He said it somewhere, where he said, "I can pass with the hybrid from fourth place." Yeah. And I was like, "Are you nuts?" Well, that goes to show you never, ever doubt Alex Palou, even on something that you think he says that's just absolutely batshit insane. Well, as it turns out, he did it. He literally did it. He won the Indy 500 with that move. I don't know. I mean, before we get into what I know you want to talk about really bad, I guess your perspective on Alex Palou as a champion, because that's the thing that's been the discussion for the last couple of races, and it was really bad after. I thought some of and I get it, you're not supposed to pay attention to the cheap shots online, but I thought some of the hate that he was getting online after Barber was just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. It's not his. So here's a little hint. It's not Alex Palou's job to promote himself as anything other than Alex Palou, champion race car driver. Everybody's trying to make it about fried chicken or make it about whatever. To me, he doesn't need to be that. In Formula One or any other form of racing, like Chase Elliott's the most boring driver in the entire world, and he sells the most merch. That's not what it's about, right? I don't know. Alex Palou, the champion, Alex Palou, the Indy 500 winner, Alex Palou, the greatest driver of this season that we've ever seen in a very long time. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're witnessing history, and I, growing up, wasn't a big fan of like Scott Dixon or Dario or Will Power, because they were dominating, right? You kind of go through that, but as I got older, you realize, like, appreciate what you're watching, because someday, hopefully when I have kids, I'll tell them I witnessed the prime years of Alex Palou, just like a relative before me would say I witnessed the prime of Mario Andretti or AJ Foyt. I mean, this is where we're at. I think the run that he's on this year, it's unprecedented, 5 out of 6. But I mean, we've seen the starts of seasons like Dixon in 20. Weldon in 05. I mean, we've seen this, and honestly, Al Sr. didn't win the championship in 70 when he did it. So it's amazing to watch.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance.
There's a chance, everybody.
And you should really watch Detroit now, by the way. But I think he's just a deserving champion.
Yeah.
You can watch that finish and watch Palou win, and if he wasn't the guy you wanted to win, or maybe he was the last guy you wanted to see win, you can't deny that he deserved it. Yeah. I think he's going to be a deserving champion by far. I think he's going to be a great champion, in these coming months, because what comes with becoming a 500 champion is you have to go through all the media. He's going to spend a week in New York before Detroit. You get to go in December and do the trophy, the face unveil. You get to you get to do everything, right? You get to go get your baby Borgs in Michigan, if they do it in Michigan again. I don't know, but the whole thing.
Do it in Michigan, Shunk.
Yeah, do it in Michigan. But you could do the whole thing throughout the next year where he gets to promote the sport, promote himself, maybe go to Spain with the Borg. Sometimes they do that with the international champions. I think he's going to be great. I think it's also a good chance to elevate Palou, right?
Yeah.
He's already a 3-time champion, looking to be 4. His run is incredible, but now he has a 500 win. You can't deny him now. When it comes to marketing. You can't deny how great he is. And so, again, I lead into this on Unverified a lot, since he's been winning a lot, that now, once he gets beat, it's even further, just more impressive when you beat him. But you should watch Detroit, because Tony's brought up a good point a couple of times, and I honestly disagreed with it. I mean, Palou could still win Detroit, but he's going to have to win Detroit after all this, after the whole media week. He's got to go race people a week from now. And it's going to be exciting to see, if this affects everything that goes with winning the 500 affects him. So if anything, it's kind of gotten a little more entertaining for Detroit now.
Well, I would say so. I mean, anytime you've got a guy who's this dominant, as you mentioned, the story is who can knock him off. And I think that was a big story this month. The others, before I'm telling you, we will get to the controversy, but I should mention another controversial thing. I don't think Palou was the driver that the people didn't want to see win the most. I think it was Joseph Newgarden. But so here's the deal. I completely agree with all the people that are saying, rightfully so, although they're a vocal minority, that you cannot hold a lot of this controversy against Joseph Newgarden. And ultimately, Joseph Newgarden, to me, if his fuel pump doesn't fail, he probably wins the Indy 500. He was 5th going into the last 2 pit stops of the race. So from my perspective, I think Joseph Newgarden, and quite frankly, I'm going to give a huge freaking shout out to the number 2 pit crew. Those were some of the most amazing pit stops I've ever seen in my life, to come from that spot, which is way the hell down there. I mean, it's probably 5/8 of a mile down the straightaway from this pit box that won the race.
I mean, they were pissed off. What are you going to say?
Well, and they should be. But I just want to give them as much credit as possible, because they've gotten a lot of crap. Deservedly so, by the way. I'm not letting you off the hook, but I think from the perspective of the Indy 500 and the performance of that team, they continue to prove Pato's point, which is you don't need to do anything extra. You guys are good. You guys are good. So you guys can win these things completely without stretching the rules at all. Joseph Newgarden, amazing, amazing drive.
Absolutely agree with you. And he's been a great champion these last years. Just like I talked about Palou, how I think he's going to be great. Over the last year, all the things that we were fortunate enough to do with Joseph, and I got to talk to Joseph a little bit when he ran some go-kart races last fall. I mean, just changed my perspective on Joseph a little bit. I mean, I think he's just a great guy and a great ambassador for the sport, and I hated for him yesterday. And you know what? I think he's going to be a 3-time champion of this race in the next couple of years, honestly. It wasn't a 3-peat, but I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's got a few more years left in him. Okay. We've waited long enough.
Now the fun begins.
We're about to go green. Devlin DeFrancesco and Louis Foster were a major factor in the finish of this race. 2 cars that were fighting to stay on the lead lap. I know there's for some reason we're debating semantics about what a lap car is and what a lap car isn't. And I suppose it's because once you're 2 laps down, or once you're about to go to 2nd lap down, you're compelled to cede the position to the leaders. In IndyCar racing, if you are about to go a lap down but not quite a lap down, you're allowed to fight for your position, which is exactly what Devlin and Louis Foster did. But there's quite a debate going on right now, which I think is not quite right in the fan base, about exactly what the problem was. So I guess, Kyle, what's your perspective on the 2 cars that ran out in front of the leaders yesterday? We know it affected the outcome of the race. There's no doubt about that. But what's your thoughts on that?
I haven't heard a lot of the fanfare online. I'm going to be totally honest. Yesterday.
You've been checked out.
I slept 4 hours the night before the race and had an 18-hour day yesterday.
I slept 3.
So I woke up from a coma this morning. Have not checked the internet. But, I mean, to be fair, the whole race, and we've known this the last couple of years, I mean, pretty much the duration of this chassis a little bit, that being able to fight from 3rd, 4th, and 5th, even if you have a great car, is not good. No. Right? And we noticed that the whole race. We noticed that last year. I mean, it turns into this train of off-sequence cars that end up leading, and then the car behind them, even if they are faster, don't want to lead because they want to fuel save. And, yesterday, the conditions helped make this worse, because with the lighter air and being able to pack on maybe a wick or two and go more downforce than if it would be hot, you were able to kind of probably ride a little bit better behind cars.
Yeah.
And so, you just had that perfect combination where you could sit in third, they'd still be able to just ride and not have a guy behind you get you. But I think my first thought in the beginning of the race, when there was one of those green flag stints that were a little bit boring, was my first fix is I think Santino Ferrucci is absolutely right that we need to run qualifying boost the whole month. Because I think the perfect example of that is if you look at the race speeds and the speeds in race running, and I know this a lot because I do all of David's results. I knew all the speeds top to bottom. The results and speeds are very close through the field in race conditions, race power. But when you're running 4-lap runs and qualifying boost, there's like a 4 or 5 mile an hour difference in car speed, right? And so when you get lap cars, if you come up on a slow car, it's going to make the racing better because they're going to have to navigate around that slower car. We see that in sports car racing.
Most exciting moments of the race were Graham Rahal restarting in front, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I don't know whose quote this is, but you need fast cars, you need slow cars in a race.
Richard Petty.
You
need slow cars, fast cars,
correct.
and medium cars to make good races.
It's absolutely correct. You can't, and our problem is we have too many fast cars.
Yeah.
Where you could throw, any of the 33 in the front of the field in clean air or in second, and it was proven yesterday. Louis Foster and Devlin had the track position to run 1-2 yesterday. They probably would have stayed there.
Yep.
And honestly, I think you have to have a great car to pass from third. Pato proved that last year, and I think Pato probably could have done that again this year. He probably could have gotten around Ericsson and fought Palou for the win. Probably would have happened without the lap cars, but there's a few quick fixes if you don't want to do qualifying boost. I talked a little bit about this with my roommate yesterday, who made a good point that the hybrid didn't help either, because oval racing is so momentum based that if you can have a terrible corner and get on the hybrid, it doesn't help either. But we need to find a quick fix. Well, there's another suggestion that within the last 5 laps of the race, what do you think about getting the lap cars out of the way? Because of a caution, because obviously they're fighting for a caution to come out, still be on the lead lap. But if 5 laps to go comes out, and it's going to end the race anyway.
It's not fair to them. At the end of the day, like the whole point of the way our American racing is always operated is that you're supposed to try to give everybody an equal, fair chance. And I think you should have absolutely believe in my purest heart of hearts that you should, if you're about to go a lap down, you have a right to fight to stay on the lead lap if you've got the pace to do it. I don't love the Formula One way of doing it where it's just like you have to get out of the way. And I get it, it's a little bit different in Formula One because there is such a pace difference between the cars and it is so hard to pass. Problem is it's hard to pass here now. To me, but the problem is too, you mentioned the hybrid, and yes, it probably helped a little bit to mask when you made a mistake because you would just have a little extra power to use if you had it. But I don't think this is a hybrid problem. I think it contributed because anytime you add weight to a race car, it makes it worse. We know that. But I thought the qualifications this year were extremely exciting. I do agree that Santino Ferrucci's got a good point that if we put more horsepower to the cars, I think we'd have a little bit more exciting racing. The fastest race lap of the leader, Connor Daly said it, 222 miles an hour. First of all, I think that's too slow for race conditions. I think that's way too slow. The fastest lap of the race, though, was Elio Castroneves at almost 227 miles an hour. And so Elio was never anywhere near the front the entire race. So what that says to me is that the leaders not only are not compelled to lead the race, they're not compelled to go fast while leading the race. I think there's your problem. And it's a problem that has been plaguing this particular chassis, not so much. So if you look at the DW12 era, you look at the Aero Kit era, you did, yes, it was there was a little bit of sitting duck action going on, right? This has always been an inherent part of this machine that we've been racing. But Ryan Hunter-Reay, 2014, drove up from what? 21st or something on the start, or maybe a 16th. He drove up through the field. Dario Franchitti, the very first DW12 race, had an accident in the pits, had to change a front wing, drove from the back. Montoya, 2015, drove from the back. Drove from the back. Not strategy, drove through the field. And we've known for a very long time, since the IR-18, the teams have complained about one aspect really, really strongly, and that's the front wing. The front wing is inefficient. It's not good in traffic. It doesn't cut through the air the right way to give you a run to make a pass. So that's kind of how we get that stuck phenomenon happening. And I understand. I won't give specifics here, but my understanding is that the current chassis is still on track for 2020, or the new chassis is on track for 2027. That would be good news. But 2026 is still a year. We still have to get through 2026. You cannot sell this place out. You cannot have your most important race be won. And look, it was not a gigantic snoozer, but are we going to say that we didn't see the excitement that we saw the last couple of years, or excitement of races in the past? I would say absolutely not. I think there are some fans out there who came to this race yesterday and maybe didn't go home as happy as they could have. So from my perspective, this is your biggest race. This is your moneymaker. This is X, Y, Z, all of these things. I do not care if the chassis is only, the life cycle of this current chassis is one more year. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if the team owners have to pay the money to get this done. But Dallara is smart people. There are smart people that work at IndyCar. Figure out a way to fix this for next year, not the year after, next year. If it's a new front wing, if it's a new aero package, new rear wing, maybe a new floor of the car, I don't care what it is. Design it, mandate it, or maybe even don't mandate it. If a team owner is going to complain about it, tell them to use the old crap that's not any good, and then we'll get some lap cars and fix it that way. But I don't think, and I'm not saying this to shit on the race, because yesterday's race had a lot going for it. It was not the worst Indy 500 I've ever seen. That was 2009. But it was bottom half of the 20 that I've seen. So in this day and age where you have a sellout crowd, we don't know what the TV rating is yet. We hope it's good. But you have so many people watching, Fox putting so much money into it, you need to at least give us a chance of having an exciting finish. And if Alex Palou was really that much better and won it by 30 seconds because you put the driver back in the damn cockpit and made him go earn the Indy 500, well then that's fine. That, quite honestly, I would rather see the first place car be able to pass the 15th and 14th place cars and then actually see a pass than just have them all ride around in a line. That's my rant about all this.
You're absolutely right. I mean, those last 14 laps after Palou got the move done, the fans around me were still excited, thinking Ericsson was going to get him, but I knew. I think anyone who's watched...
I pre-typed my tweet 5 laps before the end.
I think everyone who's watched the last couple of years of seeing the kind of snake racing we've seen, where you can't really get around when you're third and fourth, and like, I knew when he passed. Like, everyone was still get excited. I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to let him down. I was like, yeah, this race is over. So that was a tough 14 laps to watch. It was like, it's over. He won this race, and there's not even going to be battle. And then it was tougher watching Louis and Devlin passing each other, because it's like, well, yeah, look, if you're,
that could be the battle for the win.
That could have been
the
battle for the win right there. Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely also not, as someone who loves this race, and I want to come back here pretty much the rest of my life to do this. It's not a great feeling when like, oh yeah, that can happen. Where like lap cars just get into the lead, and then the battle for the win of the race just can't happen. Like, it's impossible. It's not a driver's fault. It's the aero package, and it's just how it is.
You said something to me that was extremely depressing at lunch today. You said 1989 wouldn't have happened.
No.
Hell, I mean, you think about 2003, pass for the win happens in lap traffic. Even like, I don't know, it feels like so many times, if there is lap traffic involved, it can make it exciting.
Yeah, 1989 is probably my favorite finish in the Indianapolis 500, like it is for so many, and that's impossible now. It would not happen. Wouldn't happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I said it yesterday. They have fixed the oval racing everywhere but here. Yeah. I guess not Iowa. We'll see this year. Maybe they will fix it at Iowa. But like what they did at Gateway last year, what they did at Nashville, especially what they did at Milwaukee, they're smart people working here. They can get it done. They can do it. Doug Bowles, president of IndyCar. Shout out, Doug. You have had a hell of a damn month. But
hardest working man, I think, on the premises here all month.
For sure.
Like, when he did the press conference for Penske, hair was messed up, hadn't slept, and I don't know how much he slept the entire month. It wasn't much at all. Like that, Doug did a tremendous job, I think, in his first month of May as the president of the series, and doubling both. Not to mention
having to deal with all the controversy and stuff.
Not to mention everything that came with it.
But I think Doug sees the series the way a lot of us do, and I think if you asked him, or if you went inside of his mind and you said, what did you think of that? He'd probably say it was a little disappointing. Well, now he's got the keys to the kingdom. He can fix this. And yes, he has been the first to point out, I have been in this job for 5 months, right? There's not enough time to fix everything. But I think this offseason is going to be extremely crucial for IndyCar. From this day until the next year's Indianapolis 500, there's a bunch of things that need to happen. I think the Independent Sporting Council is priority number 1, believe it or not. It's gone up to priority number 1. Priority number 2 is making sure that the 2027 car happens in 2027. But I think, priority number 3 would be the schedule, fixing the schedule, making sure it's a little more built out in the front of the season. But I would say priority number 4 is making sure that this race next year has a little bit more flavor. Now, what changes you need to make, what you need to do, I don't know. There's a lot of smart people in this paddock. I'd like them to all get together, figure it out, because that's what's going to be the best for this sport. I don't think this was a bad Indy 500 by any stretch of the imagination. I think you guys need to go watch 1973 or something to, know what a bad Indy 500 is. But I think it's a place where you can point to things that are fixable problems and fix them. This is not something that is unfixable. I think we have a great champion. I thought yesterday's race, from a chaotic headline news, 6-second Instagram reel, you've got a lot of material to work with. We've got a lot of things to talk about going into Detroit. We're not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about this race. We sold it out. It looked fantastic. It was an amazing, amazing day. There's a lot of positivity, and when we're talking about, hey, the aero package wasn't that great, that actually seems like a pretty small problem in comparison,
small in the grand
right?
scheme of things, yeah.
So I don't know. I still love this race more than anything else in the world. I don't know, Kyle, is there anything else that you kind of want to get out there about yesterday's 500?
No, other than, I hope it's never that. I didn't like that it was cold. I didn't like that it was overcast. I'm like, as you're talking, looking around, I'm like, oh my God.
Should I explain the Christmas sweater? Because a lot of people were confused about that.
You probably should.
I was not. So a lot of people thought that I was making which, to be fair, it was funny. And a lot of people were like, why? And I was walking to my seats and people were going, Merry Christmas? So yesterday I was too macho, I'll admit it. I thought I could huff it in a black t-shirt. That I couldn't do that. I'm not even built that way.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the gift shop, and naturally all of the sweatshirts had already sold out. So there was one Christmas sweater in an adult large, and I said, I guess I'm going to wear the Christmas sweater. And
we can match this Christmas. I bought that during Christmas, funny enough. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I wear that actually during Christmas.
Well,
I didn't wear it yesterday, but
when we go to the Borg Warner thing
let's go.
for Alex Palou, we hope it's not in Spain, but if it is, Shunk, pay for our tickets. And we'll put on our Christmas sweaters and we'll interview Alex Palou, and it'll be great, and it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing, actually. We can't wait for that. But I don't know. Unverified tomorrow, Kyle. Show that shirt off. That was an Amy Cuthbertson.
My mom made this.
Yeah, thanks,
Amy.
Amy.
QR code in the back.
There's a QR code in the back, so if you see Kyle today or whenever he's wearing that,
picture of my back.
We'll probably have this exact same conversation with Tony Donahue. I know Tony's fired up about the race.
He's fired up,
as he usually is.
He's on one.
So that'll be good. And yeah, man.
It's May.
It's May.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me again.
Oh,
this is every year my dreams come true during this month. Getting to do it all, and I feel like this month, Joe, Matt, we brought in Luke.
Yep, Luke.
All of it went so smoothly this year. I feel like smoother than it ever has. We finally fleshed out this month in our system. This is the first month of May that I lived here, which is crazy to say. I've
literally not just in my house.
I've lived in Indianapolis for the last 8 months. I live here now. I didn't go to David's house once this month. We figured that out,
Insane.
And that was weird. But yeah, I can't thank you and the team more. And, the history segments, I hope you guys enjoyed them. Hope you guys like the results graphics. I'll probably run it back in Detroit for fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And thank you guys so much for anyone who said hi to me this month.
Dude, the support was crazy.
Yeah, the support's crazy. Seeing a David Land shirt on race day yesterday was crazy.
Shout out Tom at Gutswear. That was awesome.
This the whole month. I hit 1,000 followers on Instagram this month. That's cool because David saw helicopters and I got 200,000.
I saw helicopters.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do for me on the David Land channel, because you know, you guys, you know, I'm not David Land, but you guys, whenever you recognize me and say hi to me,
you wouldn't want to be.
I appreciate
you wouldn't
it.
want
So,
to be.
yeah.